Welcome to today's Emunah Minute. Today in Daf Yomi we did a very powerful and poignant Gemara. Gemara Maseches Gittin Daf Nun Hameh Beis, page 55b, which talks about the story of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza, one of the most painful and yet poignant stories. It's amazing how the Daf Yomi cycle fell out in the middle of the 3 weeks. So the Gemara talks about the idea that because of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza, Charav Yushalayim Irak Chodesh was destroyed. What's the story of Kamtza and Bar Kamtza? So the Gemara tells us that Hu Gavra Dirach Me Kamtza Bal the Bavi Bar Kamtza. There was a guy, and he had a friend ultimately by the name of Kamtza, and an enemy by the name of Bar Kamtza. The unnamed balabas, the unnamed guy, was making a party, and he sent his attendant to go ahead and invite his friend Kamtza, but the attendant made a mistake, and instead he invited Bar Kamtza. And we know the story. The balabas shows up at his party, and who does he see sitting there? He sees Bar Kamtza. He says, "Get out." Bar Kamtza says, "Come on, just let me stay and I'll pay you for whatever I eat and drink." Balabas won't hear, but get out. Bar Kamtza says, "Okay, you know what, I'll pay you for half of the party." Balabas still says, "Get out." Finally, Bar Kamtza, so humiliated, so embarrassed, says, "I'll pay you for the entire party. I'll pay you, pick up the entire bill. Just let me stay." But so filled with anger and animosity and rage towards Bar Kamtza was this balabas. The balabas says, "Get out." It literally picks him up by the collar, throws him out. And we know the rest of the tragic story. Bar Kamtza says, "This was terrible. How could somebody mistreat another Jew like this?" And furthermore, it was compounded by the fact that the leading rabbis of the generation were in attendance at this party, yet they saw the humiliation, the pain of Bar Kamtza, and did absolutely nothing. Bar Kamtza goes on the warpath, essentially tells the Caesar that the Jews have rebelled against him, and it starts a series of events which ultimately result in the destruction of Yerushalayim, the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, and a catastrophic loss of Jewish life. And what's incredible about the story, there are so many lessons in the story, but what's really fascinating is the Gemara lays the blame at the feet of Bar Kamtza. Right, Bar Kamtza. But yet what's interesting is the balabas, the guy who was having the party, the guy who publicly shamed and humiliated Bar Kamtza, his identity is obscured. Right? We don't know who he is. We don't know about him. And it almost appears that he emerges from this story blameless. Blameless. Shouldn't we really place the blame for the Churban, for the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, at the feet of the guy throwing the party? Right? You're the guy, okay, your attendant made a mistake. We all have to suffer through events with people who we don't like all that much, and you know what? You grin it, you bear it, you deal with it. Yet this guy hated Bar Kamtza so much that literally he picked him up, he threw him out of the party, he publicly shamed him. And yet again, the Gemara seems to put all of the fault and blame at the feet of Bar Kamtza, seemingly absolving the balabas, the householder, the host, of any type of personal responsibility. And perhaps the Gemara is coming to teach us a very dramatic lesson. All of us have to deal with pain and hurt visited upon us by others. It is the nature of the human condition that at some point in life, you're going to be humiliated, you're going to be embarrassed, you're going to be disparaged, and you're going to be mistreated by another individual. But yet the true nature or the true litmus test of our spiritual mettle is, how do you deal with that? How do you respond? You see, the fact that the balabas, that the host mistreated Bar Kamtza, that happens in life. Okay, was it egregious? Absolutely. Was it inappropriate? Absolutely. But being mistreated by another human being does not give you the license to in turn mistreat others. Being the aggrieved party, being the mistreated party, does not give you a license then to dump on others. Just because you've been hurt, you cannot in return hurt other people. We feel bad for Bar Kamtza. When you read this story, it is clear that Bar Kamtza suffered. The humiliation was probably indescribable. The embarrassment absolutely overwhelmed. But Bar Kamtza, now you have to learn how to deal with it as a mature and rational human being. We all suffer through things in life, but that doesn't give you a license to pay it forward and then hurt someone else. You see, the balabas, I think, is left ambiguous, is left identityless, right? We don't know who he is. Because at the end of the day, as much as he did something wrong, stuff like that happens in life. The shaila really was, Bar Kamtza, how are you going to handle adversity? Bar Kamtza, now that you've been mistreated, Bar Kamtza, you've been mishandled, now what are you going to do? And unfortunately, Bar Kamtza makes a terrible error. Bar Kamtza takes the pain that he suffered at the hands of the Balabas, and he decides to pay it forward to Klal Yisrael. That's the tragedy of the Churban. That's the tragedy of this story. And what a profound lesson for us. You know, we teach this to our children, right? Our children, we send our children off to school or other social situations, and we know that they're probably going to deal with more aggressive kids. And what do we try to teach our children? Hopefully, what do we teach our children? That when someone engages with you with inappropriate behavior, someone mistreats you, de-escalate. De-escalate. Don't escalate things to a new level. Don't go ahead and ratchet it up. Don't, if somebody mistreats you, you mistreat them. Of course, you have to defend yourself. Of course, you have to defend yourself. But don't respond in kind. And yet it feels like as adults, we sometimes lose touch a little bit with this lesson. Yes, we're going to be mistreated in life. That's the way it works. That's the nature of the human condition. You're going to have people who talk not nicely to you. You're going to probably have people who mistreat you. You're probably going to have people who even take advantage of you. But at the end of the day, don't respond in kind. At the end of the day, take the high road. You've been mistreated by someone, walk away. Learn from that how not to treat others. But don't go ahead and respond in kind, because when you respond in kind, it just sets off a cycle of negativity that often creates realities that spiral out of control. An important lesson for the 3 weeks, when our avoda, our job, is really to work on our interpersonal relationships. You can't control how other people talk to you. You can't control how other people treat you, but you can absolutely control how you respond. The tragedy of the story of Bar Kamtza is Bar Kamtza should have left that party, yes, humiliated, degraded, and feeling terrible. But then he should have collected himself and realized that, you know what? I'm going to be better. I'm going to be bigger. I know what it's like to be mistreated, and I'm not going to visit that upon anyone else. I'm going to take all of these feelings of hurt, all of these feelings in pain, and use them to inform and shape how I am going to treat others going forward. But alas, Bar Kamtza didn't do that. Instead, he took his pain and he said, whatever you did to me, I'm going to give it back to you tenfold. And because of that, we are here today without a Beis HaMikdash. We are here today in diaspora. We are here today still suffering from the effects of Bar Kamtza's decision. May we be Zocheh Hashem to learn from the mistake of Bar Kamtza and to do better in our interpersonal relationships. When we get hurt, which inevitably we will, take the high road. Don't give it back. Learn from the hurt of the interaction and pledge to be better going forward. Wishing everyone a wonderful day.